Post-Operation Sindoor, India on Operation Global Outreach. 7 delegations visited several countries, met policymakers, elected representatives on India's position on Pakistan's promotion of terrorism and India's new normal in tackling terror. The delegations are now back in India. The domestic politics continues to peak. Politics aside, what does India think? Where do Indians stand? Are voters happy with India's global outreach program? What do they feel about India's global standing? In politics, everyone has an opinion, but we have the data, all tracked by India Today's political stock exchange. Unmatched, unmissable data analytics. All right, viewers, we're going to continue to get you the data as Sea Voter posed certain questions to our respondents on what exactly they feel, where India stands in its global outreach program, what we've seen over the course of the last 2 weeks. We're also going to get you visuals coming in from 7 Lok Kalyan Marg. The Prime Minister will be meeting all 7 delegations. There will be a debrief and he'll be hosting these 7 delegations for dinner. A lot of opposition members are part of these very delegations, and we've seen a fair amount of politics at the back of it. All of that coming up, but before we break into our first set of data and get that for our viewers, I want to quickly introduce our panel to you. Yashwant Deshmukh, founder director of Sea Voters. Sea Voters conducted this survey with a sample size of a little over 2,500 spread across all districts. There has been an attempt to speak to all coming in where voters are concerned from various political ideology, be it who are traditional NDA voters, be it those who vote for the opposition or those who are fence-sitters as others. Well, we also have National Spokesperson BJP Tuhin Sinha, Spokesperson Congress Sujata Paul, Ashutosh, author, political analyst with us, Karan Verma, author and political analyst. Let's quickly dive into our first set of data. Visuals also coming in a short while from the Prime Minister's residence of these delegates meeting the Prime Minister for the first time after travelling the entire world with the message of India on what is the new normal for India post these terror attacks in India's Operation Sindoor. Let's quickly cut across to our first set of data. The respondents were asked, and there's a reason, like I pointed out, we've broken it up in respondents who were surveyed from who are usual NDA voters, BJP voters, opposition voters, others. So the question that we asked, has Modi government policies enhanced our global standing? That's the big question that was posed to our respondents, and this is what we polled. NDA, 71.5% of those who vote for the NDA seem to suggest that it's enhanced a lot. 13.9% from NDA voters say enhanced somewhat. Opposition, 41.2%, enhanced a lot. Enhanced somewhat, 15.4%, others 46.2%, enhanced a lot, and somewhat enhanced 14%. So if you look at it net viewers and how you read the data, nearly over 55% of the opposition actually feels, opposition voters, these are not voters who vote for the BJP or the NDA. They are the ones who actually vote for the Congress, for other opposition parties, and they all seem to also believe that Modi's government policies have enhanced our global standing. This, at least this data, doesn't quite augur well for the opposition, because 55% of the opposition, which feels somewhat enhanced a lot, is actually very decent referendum when it comes down to our policies in terms of global standing where India is concerned, and that is the opposition putting that seal of referendum. Let's quickly cut across to our second set of data, because they're both tied in, and then we'll move into specific data points that we picked up and asked as questions to our respondents. The government's performance in countering terrorism, because what we have seen in the last couple of weeks in terms of India's global outreach policy has all tied into the terror attack at Pahalgam, viewers, and also followed by Operation Sindoor. And then one can clearly suggest after Operation Sindoor, it was Operation Global Outreach. Modi government's performance in countering terrorism, both of them tying in together. If you look at it, well, in this particular data fact sheet, it seems that the incumbent government has hit it out of the park, where NDA supporters, nearly 70% of them said excellent job, 14.4% good. So nearly, that is 75% of NDA voters feel that the government has done, if not a good, but an excellent job at countering terrorism. Opposition 37.7%, excellent, 11.9% good. Well, over 50% of opposition voters actually feel that the government's done a good job in countering terrorism. Others 45.7% excellent, 14.5% good. So even the fence-sitters that don't belong to the NDA ideology or the ideology of the opposition, over 55% of that lot also actually seems to believe that the government's done a darn good job at countering terrorism. Let's quickly get in a word in from our panelists this evening. First up, if we have Yashwant Deshmukh from C Voter. Mr. Deshmukh, if you can hear me right now, interesting set of data that has come out, and especially if one looks at the markers. All right, we don't have Yashwant. Let's cut across right now to our other panelists. Tuhin Sinha is with me, national spokesperson, Sujata Paul, Ashutosh, Karan Verma. Ashutosh and Karan Verma first, before we go to our political panelists. Ashutosh, what do you make of these figures, especially when one looks at countering terrorism, where the government standing is concerned, and also the total global standing on how at least the respondents that answered this particular survey seem to believe, even those who vote for the opposition, that India has done a stellar job?
See, Preeti, first of all, let me make it at the outset very clear that I never question because I had been a broadcaster, so I don't question the data which is put before us. But the fact of the matter is that the data which is showing here doesn't match the ground reality in the context of the Operation Sindoor. If you look at the facts are very, very clear. None of the superpowers, they stood by us. None of the small powers stood by us. None of the small powers stood by us. And none of the international institutions, they stood by us. So if India's standing at the global level has enhanced in the last 10 years, then why India feels so isolated and so alone? The fact of the matter is that Pakistan at least has got some support from the China, the full-fledged support from the China, Azerbaijan, and Turkey, but none came to us. So, and you look at if at the individual level, if you look at your relationship with the Canada, your relations with America, your relationship with the China, relations with the Pakistan historically, and then you look at the relations with Bangladesh and Maldives. Even you have to, your foreign minister has to say in the context of the European Union that we don't need preachers, we need partners. So why, if the situation has been so good, India has become rated as one of the global superpowers?
All right.
That why
so you're not doubting the data, but you don't agree with the data that we are presenting.
Certainly,
right
I do
there.
not agree.
That is Ashutosh's point of view. Karan Verma, would you want to quickly weigh in on this? Because if you just look at, the fact sheet in terms of the data that we are presenting out there, it does look, look at what the opposition voters seem to suggest. And the government's doing a decent job, even as per the opposition voters, on both, at least, these benchmarks.
Absolutely. In fact, it's doing a stellar job. Even amongst the opposition, 55% believe that it has somewhat enhanced or massively enhanced the global position. So, it cannot be better than this. I think the BJP cannot have it better than this. And, I understand where Ashutosh ji is coming from, but I would like to counter that by saying that, we have moved to a point where we are no longer in the curiosity realm of the world. Today, we are a threat to the superpowers. We are being considered in the China +1 option as far as manufacturing is concerned. We are the 4th largest economy. We refuse to buy F-35s from US. Today, we have that sort of muscle and clout where we are an object of envy. We should never be compared with Pakistan, which is a useless nation, which has use us written all over it, and which every country uses for its purposes, as a base or whatever. So we cannot be compared to how many stood by us as compared to Pakistan. we are pretty much carving a niche of our own, and there has not been a single OIC organization or any organization which has passed a resolution against us. In fact, the Germany foreign minister, standing on the podium, defended our right to go into the Pakistani territory and attack their terror sites. It said India very much reserves the right to defend and even attack itself against terrorism. So, we have not received any sort of vilification from any quarters, the kind we received back in 99 or even 1971, where so many nations pretty much passed resolutions against us. So we've come a long way from that, and we cannot be compared to the last dispensation.
All right, Sujata Paul, because, we've got a fair amount of, we've got a fair amount of data points to go through. So I'd like, all of you to maybe keep it short, and maybe we can delve in, in detail later. Sujata Paul, to bring you in on this, at least with what the data points suggest, Sujata Paul, contrary to what at least domestic politics has been, especially with your own political outfit, at a limb, trying to suggest that we've done an abysmal job on the global platform, trying to put India's point forward. But at least in this survey, it seems to be that even those who vote for you believe India's done not a bad job. 55% of opposition voters believing that the Modi government policies have worked in terms of India's global standing is a referendum for the Prime Minister.
Good evening, Preeti, to all my co-panelists and to your audiences. The fact of the matter is that I simply cannot agree to the data presented by Sea Voter and India Today, because if you look at what the government had promised and what the government has delivered are totally opposite on the opposite parts of the spectrum. And when you talk about policies that have enhanced our position in the global arena, it is very clear that we are being put on the same pedestal as Pakistan by no less than the friend of the Vishwaguru, the Prime Minister, Mr. Donald Trump. And if Donald Trump thinks that Pakistan has very fine leaders, then he should answer as to why US had entered Pakistan to kill Osama bin Laden. If he was eliminated, then, then US clearly knows that Pakistan harbors terror, and anybody who harbors terror cannot be put on the same pedestal as us. But when you talk about the performance in the country as far as terrorism is concerned, how is it that when the ceasefire happened, it was the right-wing trollers who were trolling Colonel Sofia Qureshi or Vikram Misri ji?
All right, Sujata Paul, hold on to that thought. Like I said, keep it brief. There's a lot of data to go through, so let's keep it brief. Tuhin Sinha, you'd be happy with at least the first set of numbers there.
Well, good evening, Preeti. Good evening, everybody. Yes, absolutely. Data doesn't lie, and the data corroborates what is the ground reality. Our diplomatic efforts post Operation Sindoor have been remarkable success. I don't know why the opposition doesn't, take cognizance of the German foreign minister very explicitly condemning terrorism emanating out of Pakistan. The Australian deputy prime minister was equally vocal in rooting for India and in condemning terrorism. Now, we have seen how Colombia changed its stand from initially being pro-Pakistan to seeing reason in what India did. Panama has supported us, Algeria has supported us. Besides, of course, Israel and Japan have traditionally supported us. So I don't know why these people are so skeptical. I think if you reverse that survey, if you had done a survey on does India condemn Rahul Gandhi's surrender remarks on Prime Minister Modi, I think 100% of the people would have condemned.
Okay, but that's a good idea for the next survey.
I think we need to realize that the success.
No, I think that's a good idea for the next survey. The Narendra surrender remark as well as charges on the EC. Both surveys could be good, and especially with what the people actually feel about that. But Tuhin, stay with me. I want to put in.
You can de-link the EC. You can de-link the EC for now. You can focus on national issues, and you will see how Congress
EC is a national issue as well, Tuhin Sinha.
As somebody
EC is a national issue as well,
which is compromised.
But right now, all of that aside,
I'm talking about national security issues. There's
right,
clearly
but
a
all of
difference
that aside,
between
Tuhin Sinha, these numbers are good. You should be smiling at the back of that. But let's give in the next set of numbers, and we also have Yashwant Deshmukh, founder director of Sea Voter. Let me take you through the next set of data. The question that was posed to respondents and with what they chose to answer to the question, as the government selected members for diplomatic delegations with political motive, there was a fair amount of political heat at the back of this particular move in selection of delegations. So, well, NDA supporters, yes, completely. 16.9%, that's it. Say that this was done with a political motive of the government. Opposition, clearly 31% of those who vote for the opposition seem to suggest that all of this was a political move by the government. But what's interesting here is the others figure, because nearly 30%, 29.2% of the fence-sitters feel that the government was political in picking the delegations. Yes, somewhat. If you look at NDA voters, 21.8%, opposition 26.2%, others 21.5%. So net, if you actually look at these figures, especially even nearly 50% of NDA supporters, voters feel that there was political motive behind picking the delegation. So leave alone what opposition others comes down to. So one thing is clear in that data that is filtering in right now, that at the question whether this was a political move in picking the particular delegation, 7 of them, well, yes, nearly 50% of our respondents, even those who vote for the NDA, feel that this was a political move. So the matter would be settled in terms of politics behind that and what the voters feel. The second question that we are moving to, which was asked, could sending opposition netas in delegations improve relations between government and opposition? Well, you have yes, NDA, 44.4% voters feel that. Respondents from the opposition ideology, 45.7%, others 42.2%. No, 24.4%. NDA, opposition 30.1%, others 25%. So interesting, it seems here the NDA voters, the opposition and the fence-sitters, all of them align in their thought process. There are no variations. 44 to 45% of them actually believe that it's a good idea to include opposition members in these delegations. Let's cut across right now. We have Yashwant Deshmukh who's joining us. See, voters conducted the survey. Yashwant, were you surprised with the response? Because after Operation Sindoor, it was Operation Global Outreach, especially on how your respondents reacted in terms of global standing. Well, that's a huge referendum for Prime Minister Modi and his government, because even opposition voters feel that the government done a darn good job at it.
Well, Preeti, that definitely is the case. And also, let's not forget that majority of the opposition voters also belong to non-Congress parties. We tend to look at that column only with the idea of looking at the Congress as the main opposition party. But a huge majority of the opposition voters come from the India alliance parties but are non-Congress. And when we talk about the delegations going abroad, I think beyond Congress or barring Congress, no other opposition party which sent their representatives in these delegations made any issue out of it. However, people at large actually appreciate big time the opposition member of parliaments going and representing India's case. That is something they are hugely appreciative of. They should be. And also the fact that we have also asked question on 2 people, particularly asking one Mr. Asaduddin Owaisi and one Mr. Shashi Tharoor.
Right.
Among the opposition of these parties, basically talking about the BJP voters as well, their reputation has gone up several notches.
We're going to give those data. We're going to give the figures
what I'm wondering, Preeti, over here is that was there anything that Congress gained by making a fuss out of that Shashi Tharoor episode? Why didn't they own up their own MPs who were going there? So I think that was as a political analyst,
you know what we're going to do is, stay with me, Yashwant. Let's put on that set of data which Yashwant Deshmukh is speaking of, and then we'll bring in all our panelists. So let's put all the 3 set of data that we have, 3 questions that were posed. Did the Congress tarnish its image in criticizing Tharoor's support and appointment on Operation Sindoor as part of the delegation? Because mind you, viewers, let's hark back. The Congress was asked for names. The Congress did not suggest Dr. Shashi Tharoor's name, despite of Dr. Tharoor always having a rich history. He's been the MOS Foreign Affairs, so he knows a thing or two about diplomacy and foreign affairs, but he wasn't nominated by the Congress itself. He was handpicked by the Modi government. Well, and the figures are right there for all to see, because leave alone what the NDA respondents are suggesting, because they would usually, one would believe, have the line of what the government line is. Even opposition voters, 37.1% feel image significantly tarnished. 16.9% feel that image somewhat tarnished. And that's a big amount, because, you have nearly, over 55%, I would reckon it will come down to, where opposition voters actually feel that the Congress was wrong in, criticizing Tharoor's support on Operation Sindoor, leave alone what others, the fence-sitters, feel. And that doesn't quite augur well for the Congress here. Let's go into our second set of data. Has Shashi Tharoor earned respect due to his stand on Operation Sindoor? And that is something that maybe the Congress needs to take a note of here. Because leave alone what the NDA feels, again, viewers, look at what the opposition voters are feeling. 43.5%, yes, to a great extent, 26.9%. So, he's hit it out of the park on this particular front. Look at the data, read the data. Others, 40% feel yes to a great extent, to some extent, 15.4%. Let's get in the second person who Yashwant Deshmukh was speaking of, and that's Asaduddin Owaisi. We saw so many of Asaduddin Owaisi's speeches going viral, supporting India's stand on Operation Sindoor. And the question posed to respondents was, has Asaduddin Owaisi earned a respect due to his stand on Operation Sindoor? And like Mr. Tharoor, it seems Owaisi has hit it out of the park again. NDA supporters, 45.5%. They're usually betas of Asaduddin Owaisi, at least where the voters are concerned. They feel that Owaisi's done a great job. Yes, to some extent, 18.3%. So when you look at that figure, it's nearly, I would reckon, over 65% of NDA voters feel that Asaduddin Owaisi has done a great job. Read the other figures there, and one clearly seems to understand. And Ashutosh, this is where I bring you in, and all our other panelists, that at least where the voters are concerned, Ashutosh, there's been a very clear stand. You might differ in politics, but when it comes to national security, there is one clear plank, especially with the voters. There's not much difference on what an opposition voter will feel from an NDA voter. Having said that, there is clear recognition that, yes, the government played politics. If you look at the figures, that was there a political move to pick the delegation? Both NDA and, opposition voters and others feel that, yes, there was politics involved. But net-net, if you look at the figures, they don't draw a distinction between the opposition. That's not good for the Congress, because they played a game which they thought they could politically benefit of.
See, Preeti, three things. First of all, a government which eats, breathes, and sleeps with nationalism, the macho nationalism, if had not fared well on the terrorism issue, then I would have been really surprised. And this government has done a good job on the issue of countering terrorism and the national security. There's no doubt about it. The second point is, I think I was a little disappointed with my friend Yashwant Deshmukh. He must have other reasons. That the questions about the ceasefire, the questions about the foreign minister informing to the Pakistan Fauj, and the question about the issue of about the special session, about the special session. How the people would have reacted to these questions would have been would have really enlightened me that what is the real mood of the people. The third point is, I think everybody in this country from the 22nd April onwards was talking in one voice that Pakistan has to be taught a lesson, and this is enough. We can't suffer these kind of things for a very, very long time. And the government of India did a good job by launching Operation Sindoor. But the way it has gone after ceasefire, the kind of politics which this country has witnessed, it's really a very, very sorry state of affairs. Not only the Congress party, but even the government also. And the people in this survey has clearly shown their annoyance. That if the government was doing politics while selecting the delegates from other political parties, and then the Congress was also, and the last point, very, very, very quickly, I think the star is Shashi Tharoor, and that's why the BJP has to look within. Why they can't have a Shashi Tharoor in their own ranks?
All right, so the star is Shashi Tharoor, so was Owaisi. But Yashwant Deshmukh, you want to come in because Ashutosh has a bone to pick with your
Small
questions.
point,
Why haven't you
just a
asked about
small point.
mediation, ceasefire?
Yeah, just a small point that Ashutosh, we did in our snap poll right after the ceasefire, and we did report that huge majority of the people, particularly coming from the BJP support base, were extremely disappointed with the ceasefire. We had already reported that. So if you want me to ask that question again, I can ask that question again. But we had already asked that question.
All right, but yeah, but that's a good point. Maybe that's a good point to ask and go back to the people.
Yashwant,
Has that
just
anger
10
subsided or that
seconds.
anger is still boiling? Okay.
Preeti, just 10 seconds. Preeti, Yashwant, I was more interested in knowing within the last 1 month, has there any change occurred in the minds of the people who supported, who were the hardcore supporters and were really disappointed with the government's action?
Ashutosh, definitely I will run. I will promise you I will run. And just not to you, but all my editorial colleagues and my analyst colleagues, if they feel there is any question that we should be running in a political stock action, please do reach out to us. We always are more than welcoming all these suggestions.
All right. Okay, you had a few from the Congress spokesperson, but let's quickly get in final words there. Let's move on. Karan, would you want to come and weigh in on this? Because, like I said, all the respondents were very clear that there was politics played in picking delegations. Yet, they're also angry at the Congress for the way it reacted on Shashi Tharoor being nominated and his stand on Operation Sindoor.
I think that was a mother of all self-goals, Preeti. If you ask me, Congress not standing with Shashi Tharoor, I mean, they should have owned it up right away. The man has been a wise undersecretary for communication at United Nations. Who could have been a better person than him to represent India? But the Congress could not differentiate between politics and putting the country first here. And this has been a self goal. Saying Narendra surrender, as Rahul Gandhi said, was not taken well by the people. It wasn't taken well within the Congress party, be it by
But
Salman
Karan, that's a good question.
or Manish
That's a good
Tiwari.
question for Yashwant Deshmukh to ask, because that's what Sujata Paul said. I'm cutting you short on time. But Sujata Paul, final words.
Very important to understand that even the TMC replaced Yusuf Pathan with Abhishek Banerjee. And if the government had to ask us for names, then they should have respected the names that we had given. However, one thing is very clear, that the innuendos in this survey are very disturbing. And that is, when you talk about Mr. Owaisi earning respect, it clearly indicates that you think that he was probably going to speak something else, but he has spoken something else. No, the whole country was together. And saying that he has earned respect after Operation Sindoor should not have been one of the focus points of this. And very important to also understand that it was a good idea to include opposition members, and they have done much better than the BJP members.
Fair point, and that's the point I want to take that point to Tuhin Sinha, because Tuhin Sinha, who made maximum noise, who went viral maximum times? You had Asaduddin Owaisi, you had Dr. Tharoor, you had a Priyanka Chaturvedi. Who from the BJP?
Well, that only vindicates our choice of the opposition candidates. And, it was a tactical thing. We wanted the opposition to be heard even more than the ruling party, because the ruling party, at the end of the day, is the one which has executed Operation Sindoor, which gave the political go-ahead for Operation Sindoor. But the opposition candidates, the opposition leaders ought to have been heard even more, and I think it is a strategy which works. So you need to realize what this diplomatic mission, what these delegations have done, is they have very clearly segregated the nationalists in each party from those who have a dubious stand towards nationalism. Yes, it was the prerogative of the government to choose candidates from all parties, and we rightly felt that
that's all the time that we have for now, but I want to bring in Yashwant Sinha for exactly 20 seconds, Yashwant Sinha, because I don't think there was any intention of, there was no way that one wanted to pun on the fact that whether Mr. Owaisi earned respect or not. It was how he was seen in the eyes of NDA voters and the opposition.
Of course, yes. I mean, it goes without saying. I mean, if you look into anybody's social media handle, I mean, they are respectable MPs, but it's about their stand on what they are doing. If it is gained further respect for them or not. So obviously, it goes without saying into that direction.
So no innuendo.
Having said that, we will be coming back again with another round of PSCs, and yes, we will be asking all those questions whom they are saying, and we will be asking question on Narendra surrender issue as well.
All right. So, but Yashwant, you have a few, requests here. Surrender is a question that the panelists want. Rahul Gandhi's take on the EC. What do the voters feel? Is something that a lot of our panelists want. But we're going to leave it at that. I appreciate all five of you for joining us.
Just to remind the viewers, it's only about a month from now we'll be coming with our mood of the nation, massive
Yes.
round of MOT. After 15th of August. So a lot many questions you can expect in the trend line to check it out where exactly the mood is.
Well,
going.
we look forward. So will our viewers there. Thank you all for joining us.